3, 2, 1.
Clap my ass
Alright,
like
cool.
a drum.
Now we're back, folks.
That's how you know.
That's how you know.
That's how you know.
When Emma says
That's how
clap
you
my ass
know.
like a drum, it's when you know
That's
it's
how you know.
podcast time.
Speaking of asses and assholes, I would like to put before the Midnight Society today a story about a customer that I had a
It's
couple
6:45 p.m., but we will allow it.
Okay, so 2 weeks prior to recording on a Saturday, early in the morning, before noon on a Saturday,
Oh my god.
it was pretty busy at the place that I work. And we're just, living our lives, vibing, making stuff. And this couple comes in. And the woman has this purse. It's like a floral, like diaper bag looking purse. And she's like got it hoisted. And she's there with her partner. And they come in. And the first thing they do is ask my coworker, "Hey, what kind of coffee do you guys have here?" And my coworker's like, "Well, these are the coffees that we have, and these are the sizes in ounces of that coffee." And she goes, mm-hmm. "And what sizes do you have those in ounces?" And I looked over at my coworker and I was like, "Hello?" And long-sufferingly, my coworker went over everything again. And the husband in the relationship goes, "Yeah, I'll have a 16-ounce dark roast or whatever." And the wife goes, "That's a lot of coffee." And I'm like, "What is going on?" So I'm like standing over
Wrong,
by the
but-
espresso machine preparing to do something if they want me to do something. And my coworker goes, "Okay, so do you want any like cream or sugar in that?" And this is
Oh no.
the wife gets a look on her face and she goes, "So we're special people. We do this thing called bulletproof coffee."
Are you fucking
And
kidding me? Bulletproof
she
coffee?
reaches-
Are people still
She
doing that?
reaches
What?
into
You're not ready, Jeff. You're not
She-
ready.
She reaches into her purse
Oh no.
and pulls out
She
two
brought her own
entire
butter?
sticks of butter.
Holy shit.
Wait,
Wait, so
what the fuck
16
is
ounces
this?
is too much coffee, but she's gonna put an entire stick of butter in it?
She pulled out 2 sticks of butter and set them on the counter in front of my coworker.
What the
It's
hell?
like, can you blend these into my coffee, please?
What the fuck?
Is bulletproof coffee just putting butter in your coffee?
Yes. I
Yes.
did it for a little while in like 2016, I want to say. You're not
this-
supposed to use that much though, even if you are doing it. Like it's like a tablespoon tops.
Oh my
Yes,
god.
I've done a tablespoon or so of butter in my coffee if I've like run out of creamer or
Yeah.
whatever, and I'm
It
desperate,
tastes
'cause I don't
okay.
really-
It
It's
tastes
fine.
all
It does the
right.
same thing that cream does and neutralizes the acid in the coffee, and it makes it a lot
Yeah.
more pleasant to drink.
You definitely need to give it a little mix up because it will sit on the top.
You've
unlike
got
milk.
to do an awful lot with it, yeah.
But anyway, I would like to
Sick.
continue.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, sorry,
Proceed.
Nina's
Out of her
not, Nina's
purse.
not done yet.
She just
God.
pulled them out of her purse, wrapped in the wax paper or whatever, but just floating loose in her purse, I guess. And she's like, "Okay, so blend one of these."
I'm sorry, free ball and butter. Continue.
She's like, "Can you blend one of these into my husband's coffee, and then can you blend one with a double shot of espresso, and then just enough water to fill 16 ounces?"
What?
So she's doing
What?
like a bulletproof Americano, basically.
Oh my god.
It's not even going to be that hot because, like,
Yeah, that's so much
It's-
water.
that's so much water, and we don't
You
even
might not
like,
even
it's-
melt all the butter with that, right?
I don't
Sorry,
know.
continue.
It did. It did melt the
Okay.
butter just fine.
What
So
the
we have
hell?
we only have 2 blenders. So not only did we have to blend someone's butter in our machine, now both of our machines are coated with grease.
Yeah.
And she's like, they're standing there the whole time. They haven't paid for anything. And they're just standing there watching this process go on. And they're watching my poor coworker fumble with the blender. And then the lid pops off the blender because of all the
No.
jostling from the butter. So now the like shield for the friggin' blender is like coated in grease and coffee.
Oh my
And they're just
God.
standing at the counter. And there's someone in line behind them. And I was like, "Hey," like loudly. I was like, "Hey, this might take a while, so do you want to give me your order?" And then after this conversation I have with the other person where I start their drink, I'm like, we ring them out and they keep standing there. And she's like, oh, we should move. There's someone behind us. And the husband's like, oh, is there? And it's like, yes, I had a conversation with
Oh
them.
my god.
They left in the group chat. I was like, can we just not do this anymore? I thought my coworker was going to tell them no, but
So, two things.
Yeah, should have.
Two things. One, if somebody does do that in a similar situation, here's what you can tell them. Sorry, it's against health code for us to use like
Yeah.
ingredients that somebody
that's
brings in.
literally
Yeah.
what I said in the group chat. I literally immediately after this all went down, I was like, it's our equipment. We don't know where that butter's been or what it's been through. It was floating loose in her purse. Isn't that against health code?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we talked to a health inspector and they said it was fine. And I guarantee you, I
The
can't guarantee
customer
you,
said
but I'm
that?
pretty sure.
I can
no, the health
guarantee.
person said that. I guarantee you what the conversation that must have happened was, hey, if someone brings butter from home and they want to put it in their coffee, is that okay? Instead of, clarifying that this was going into our blender that we used on other people's drinks, I'm pretty sure that the health
Yeah.
inspector was probably just like, oh, they just want to cut a slice of butter off and put it in their coffee at the counter with everyone. That's not what we're talking about, sir.
Yeah.
We're not talking about putting coconut oil in your coffee. We're talking about using the company blender to blend a stick of purse butter
Yeah.
into a coffee. So
It's
I did
I
try and
just-
bring that up, and our owner did eventually concede to saying that we could say that. And I know that it's true, and you
Right.
all know that it's true, but they're acting like I'm somehow incorrect. So I'm a
You're,
little
you're
bit
not.
peeved
You're
about that.
not.
Honestly, all of that aside, though, I am just in awe of the butter to coffee ratio that has to produce.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
That can't be pleasant
Oh,
to
yeah.
drink, right?
Is that
You're
where
drinking
the
a cup of butter at that point.
Yeah, is that where the asshole part of the story comes in? Because
Yeah, because it's gonna be shooting out of it.
God,
Yeah,
you think
yeah,
regular
yeah.
coffee makes you take a dump? Wait until you see this stuff.
just wait till you try a whole stick of butter coffee.
Welcome back to Casual Obsession, the horror movie podcast where we talk about horror movies. Long time no see. It's been a wonderful little month off. I know I've missed this. I hope everyone else missed this a little bit
No.
at least too. Nobody else missed this, but
Nobody.
it's nice to be back anyway.
Noah's forcing us all to do this again.
Yeah.
Shut up, shut up, shut up. It's nice to have everyone. Nina, say it's nice to have everyone.
Hi guys.
Jeff, say it's nice to be here.
It is nice to be here.
Emma?
Somebody call the police. He's got me locked in in the trunk of
So anyway, we're
The
really
three of
happy
us
to
are
have
really
everyone
happy
here.
to be here.
The three of us are very happy.
There never was a
today-
fourth host. What are you talking about?
It's that picture of Stalin with the guy photoshopped out.
You mean a picture of Stalin alone? Excuse me.
Yes, the picture of Stalin alone that never had anything else.
Oh my God.
So what movie are we talking about, Noah?
So today we're watching P2. I have typed this thing's name as PT probably about 700 times now.
No, that's
But,
the
it is-
PlayStation horror demo.
Mm-hmm. R.I.P.
RIP.
Wasn't that where the first Silent Hill game was?
Yeah, it was
So
supposed to be.
it was supposed to be a Silent Hill game by like Hideo Kojima, but then it got canceled.
Bummer.
Yep.
Big bummer.
Honestly, I gotta be honest though, I feel like having it live on as this unattainable game where instead we get to have like this really amazing demo and just imagine how much better it could have been.
Yeah.
Probably is better than what it would have
It's
been.
like Firefly.
it
Probably.
was Silent Hill,
Really, yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Just like Firefly. It's way better that we didn't get more of it.
Way
we want
better than we
anyway.
didn't. Unlike P2 where we got maybe too much.
I don't think we got too much. So
Wait,
here's the
I feel
thing
like it
about
was
P2, right?
About the correct amount.
I feel like this is actually one of the perfect examples of what I've talked about with the early 2000s digital boom, because this was this director's first time directing,
Twas.
and
What?
it it's a great example of somebody had an idea, and because things were cheaper than using film, they were able to do it. Now, granted, they had a $3.5 million budget.
Aha.
So at least the color grading wasn't ugly. Like,
Sure.
that's a first
But
of the
Noah,
digital era.
Yeah.
what is this movie
But-
about?
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. So this movie, now stop me if you've heard this before on ATM. Because
Yeah, I was going to talk about ATM a lot here. I think ATM borrows a lot from this movie.
I think so. So this is a movie that takes place on Christmas Eve. So this is a Christmas horror movie for those of you who
It's
wanna,
another
like,
Christmas horror movie.
it's not even like a stretch like American Psycho. This is on Christmas Eve.
Oh my god, is American
So,
Psycho a
There's
Christmas movie?
a Santa costume.
Holy
Yeah, he wears
shit!
antlers at one point.
I
Yeah.
know what I'm watching this Christmas. Batman
yeah,
Begins.
so- Another secret Christmas movie. So
Not
this
even a
movie
little.
opens up on what's her name? Angela, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Angela, who's she's working in a business, and they are doing a lot of business there.
so
You
much
can tell
business.
because she throws around some words and percentages,
She does
and
say some
mentions-
things.
millions of dollars.
She carries papers at one
Um,
point, I believe.
Got no idea what this business place is, but they are very businessy. So, hey, more power to them. And she is there late on Christmas Eve, much to the disappointment of her family, who are calling her saying, "I can't believe you're missing Christmas again."
For
And
business.
she's like, "No, I swear, I'm not going to miss Christmas for business again." And, she gets ready to leave. She says her goodbyes to the security guard, but then her car just won't start. So she
Classic.
then makes her way to everyone's favorite spot, the so much bigger than I expected to be security office. And
Sure.
she runs into Thomas, who's like, "Oh, why would you bother calling a cab when I could simply charge your car?" Ha ha ha. "Oh, turns out it didn't need that. Well, that's okay. You can go call the cab, I guess, or you could stay with me. Ha 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 ha. Wouldn't that be funny? Ha ha ha." Which is honestly, I made it sound really awkward. It is more awkward than that in the
It
movie.
is actually more awkward than that
It's
when
pretty
he says
awkward.
it.
Yeah. He's like,
Um,
why don't you come hang out with me? Haha, just kidding. Unless.
And she's like,
Yeah,
"I
Tom
have to go see my
is-
family."
Tom is at this point, if just kidding, unless was a person.
Yes.
Literally.
That's him at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But as the movie continues, I'm gonna fast forward now because it's not spoily time yet. She ends up getting trapped in the building, misses her cab, and is then kidnapped by Tom. I know we didn't see it coming.
Dun, dun,
He's only the
dun.
creepiest
This
man.
wasn't the
The only other
spoilery
character in the
section.
movie.
Whoa. No
Apparently, there's like
subversion here.
8 people in this movie.
Yeah.
If you go on IMDb, there's like, and then you can do a quick count. There's Angela, there's Tom, there's Carl, the security guard, there's her
The
assistant,
people in
whose
the
name I don't
elevator.
remember because she was there for 3 seconds. There were
Oh,
the 2
yeah.
people in the elevator, and then there were 2 cops.
Yeah.
But
Oh, they credit the guy on TV doing the weather.
oh yeah,
That's
the guy on
dumb.
TV is the director.
He would have been doing that anyway. Come on.
Directing the weather? No,
Yeah.
no.
That's
That's
his
the
Weather
director.
guys are always
That's
out
the
there doing the
director.
weather.
That looks like the kind of guy.
Honestly, it's a tasteful cameo though.
It is.
That's true.
It's not an M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, he always
Exactly.
tries to make
It's
himself
not a
important to the
Stan
movie.
Lee.
Yeah.
Look,
I don't mind a
Stanley-
Stan Lee
anyway.
though. He usually doesn't affect anything, you know.
So that's the up to the point of the movie kind of thing. She gets
Yeah.
kidnapped by the parking lot security attendant.
Yeah.
No.
What a great summary, Noah. But how was this movie critically received?
Did the critics
gotta be
receive it,
honest.
Noah?
It's not looking great.
Oh no.
I know everyone's
How
probably
unforeseen.
really surprised. IMDb is sitting at a 5.9 out of 10.
Wow.
Rotten Tomatoes 35%.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Metacritic 37%.
Okay.
Wow.
Letterboxd 2.9 out of 5.
Wow.
So like it's not looking good.
No.
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 We were saying this before recording, but I would like it to be known that I had very good memories of this movie.
9 out of 10
Oh,
memories, I believe
you?
it was.
I remember liking this movie so much that when I was putting together my my Letterboxd, I saw it and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I loved P2. 9 out of 10."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really think we should put together a master list of movies that you gave 9 stars to and don't remember why,
Yeah, that'd be great.
and then just watch them all at once.
Yeah, sounds like a
See,
great
I think
episode.
The issue is we just need to get back my late night Netflix list because that's where all the hits were.
Of
That
course.
was pure bangers.
Oh yeah.
And by pure bangers, I mean it was all stuff like this, so it wasn't that good. But
Right.
I remember those a lot more fondly than they should be.
Oh, for sure. Movies like this or
Yeah.
Abaddon or whatever that other one was.
Yeah, but
There was one that was talking about the plagues of Egypt, but in
The Plagues of
Alabama.
Egypt in Alabama. Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah, I'd watch
It was
the
a
shit
cult
out of that.
movie.
Even if it was
Hell
bad,
yeah.
I'd watch that.
it was very
Oh,
bad.
you know it's gonna be bad. Come on.
so Noah, you wouldn't give this a 9 anymore, so you'd give it what, like an 8.9?
I was actually thinking an 8.99 repeating, of course.
Oh,
Of
okay,
course.
yeah.
It didn't live up to my no. I think that this deserves a solid I'm waffling between a 5 or a 6
Okay.
because I still enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it more than Nina did, and I think some of that is because Nina watched a movie that did this exact plot but better just a few weeks ago. But I don't
Mm,
have that to compare it to.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, I have that going for me. There's
sure
a lot
that's
of
nice.
things that I like about this movie.
Sure.
Um,
It's got stuff to like.
yeah, I think it has great bones.
Literally.
Um,
Heyo.
Heyo.
Not even bones in this movie.
Yes, there are.
There's not that many
Did you?
bones.
There was a good amount of bones. I'll talk about. That's like one of my favorite parts of this movie.
Anyway, yeah, I think I'm sitting at a 6 right now.
Nice.
But at some point today I'll be like, no, it was definitely a 5 or a 4. But right now I'm sitting at a 6.
No, that's reasonable.
Okay.
That's reasonable.
It's generous but reasonable.
Yeah.
Oh, is it generous, Jeff? Well, what? How about you say your score then?
I'm giving it a 5.5.
5.55
Look at this
with the
guy.
line repeating.
Repeating, of
Of
course.
course.
Of course. Yeah. Perfect.
I think that also makes
Yeah, I think
sense,
it's
though, right?
it's pretty thoroughly mid. I like a lot of stuff that Alexander Aja does. He knows how to make stuff look good. He knows how to make you squirm in your seat when bad stuff happens.
Yeah.
There's
that's true.
I feel like I see a lot of New French Extremity kind of influence to this movie. You can tell Aja was involved, and also I don't remember the guy's name, Daniel Levasseur, the other writer. Like having seen other stuff that the two of them have made, I see a lot of them in it, and I kind of like that. But also, there's a lot bad about it. So
Oh yes.
Yeah. It's true. That's true. Nina, I'm curious what your thoughts were.
Right. So Noah did mention I watched a movie with a similar plot. I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. I would just say that the stuff that this movie tried to do, it did the other movie I watched did successfully. I'll be open about it kind of closer to the end, but I didn't like this movie. 3 out of 10.
Oh my god.
3 is more than I was expecting.
I was-
if we're
yeah.
being honest.
I really, here's the thing. This is the only thing I will say. I really enjoy early 2000s gore. I think it's
Mm.
really fun. I think it's
Mm.
super over the top.
100%.
It's ridiculous. They
Yeah.
go
Oh,
all
yeah.
the way with it. And this movie had a couple moments where I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm here for in a 2007 movie.
When Gropey Elevator Man got hit by a car, and instead of getting crunched, he decided to split open
He
like
just
an egg.
exploded. Like, why?
Yeah, that's not how human bodies work. And I
Nah.
love that.
It's pretty great. One
Yeah.
day I'm gonna make you watch High Tension for this show, and you're gonna hate it so much that you're gonna love it. There is
Promising.
just such a comical amount of blood. Oh my
I want
god!
everyone to come back to this clip when we watch High Tension, and Nina has never seen a movie she hated more.
My point is,
it's the other
that-
movie that I've seen by Alexander Aja and Daniel Levasseur, so that's how it connects.
Gotcha.
valid, yeah. But yeah, coming down to it, 3 out of 10. Like Noah said, there were good bones, but I've seen those bones fleshed out. This is so many puns. I've seen those bones fleshed out in a much better way.
Wow.
So, There were bones in this movie, though. The elevator guy's whole rib cage is on display at one point.
Those
so.
were his intestines.
No, there were intestines too, but we literally
Yeah.
saw his ribs.
I forgot.
And we
Yes,
do hear his
boring.
bones crunch a little.
We do hear a
We
lot
do
of
hear a
crunching.
lot of bones.
Yeah, there is that. We know they're
It was
there.
Emma.
a Bones Day.
Not anymore.
How many bones out of 10 would you give this movie?
Well, I'm not gonna give this a score of bones out of 10.
Oh.
So sorry to just kind of spike away your little
Wow.
Way to yes
your
and
little
Emma.
yeah, I'm not yes anding
Is
because
that yes
I already
ending or just no selling, more or less?
We're very lucky in that this movie kind of gives itself its own score. Because I'm gonna give it a P2 out of 10.
No, I think that's super fair. too.
Yeah.
And I will admit, there are some outside circumstances involved in why I think so poorly of this movie. We can get into those after the little
Quite
spoiler
excited
break.
too.
But yeah, last night some other things were happening, and then I stayed up to watch this movie, and it just kind of fed in
good.
further into those things that had
Oh,
happened.
no.
I
and
think
so
I know
was
to
like,
what you're
"Oh my God."
referring.
You
so.
probably do if you saw my Twitter. But yeah, so stuff. Loved it. But
we go.
what sort of like trigger warnings are there? I have a few to mention.
Yeah.
One of
I
the
was gonna
most
say, I have a couple.
important is there is a dog. The dog
Mhm.
does die a gruesome death on
It's
camera.
bad. It's bad.
It's real bad.
It makes you feel it.
Mhm.
He didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
Rocky was a good boy.
Yeah.
He didn't know who he was working for.
Yeah.
No.
Tom agrees with you, Jeff. How's it feel to be on Tom's side?
I'm saying
Going
he
to
was
launch
Tom's-
Tom into the sun.
Yeah.
I'm saying
I don't
Rocky
wanna
didn't
get
know
into
how
it.
evil Tom was.
Tom's whole thing
So,
of like,
yeah.
how could you kill a defenseless animal?
Like,
When he
defenseless?
sicked the dog
Yeah.
on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
not how it works,
Anyway.
Tommy.
Okay.
Spoilers.
So the dog does die.
yeah.
It is not a fun moment.
No.
Dog deaths are never fun, but this one's really not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have stalking as like if that's a theme that bugs you, this is not the movie for you because Tom is a big ol' stalker. It is revealed many times when he's like, "Oh, I've seen you drive out of here so many times. It feels so weird to have you in the car with me." 10 seconds of awkward
Yeah.
silence. Feels really nice.
Yeah, it's like
That
every
she's
time
clearly
you learn
unhappy.
something new about Tom, it's just that you're learning he's creepier than you thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just every
absolutely.
reveal, it's just, oh, by the way, he's creepier now.
Yep.
I have another trigger warning.
Yeah.
Sexual assault.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Big time.
2 scenes.
2 scenes. Both very uncomfortable.
Yep.
Hated him very
Yeah.
much.
Real bad.
Yeah. I didn't know going in, so I'm telling you so that you know going in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fine. We didn't have any
I-
like conversation prepping. That's on us. We
Yeah.
we take responsibility for our own shit for this podcast. But
Sure.
you're our
Literally
responsibility. So
last night, me and Piper were hanging out in Discord as we do, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I still
Gross.
need to watch the movie for the podcast." And they were like, "What movie is it?" And I said, "Oh, it's P2." And they're like, "Oh," they were about to go to bed, but they're like, "If you're gonna watch a horror movie, I stay up and watch with you, maybe." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So
Oh, no.
I pull up the movie, and I rented it on YouTube, and it had a little description of what the movie was, kind of like a back of the DVD case, like
yeah.
synopsis or like seller. And so it was talking about like seemingly trusting security worker kidnaps girl and she has to escape the garage away from him. And so it's like Piper famously does not like essay in movies, as one should.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
Super
And so
understandable.
I was like, Piper, I don't know anything about this movie, but based on the little description, there might be some things in here that are very uncomfy. And they're like, it seems that way, so I will go to bed. And I was like, okay.
Good call,
Probably.
Piper.
Good
Probably
call,
the smart
Piper.
idea. Didn't miss
Absolutely. No. So yeah, so absolutely SA. Not fun.
I think that's it, though. Lots of
I
gore,
mean,
obviously.
yeah, also
Even
lots
if
of
you don't-
Gore.
lots of blood in the violence.
eye stuff specifically.
Oh, there is
Ooh,
eye
eye
stuff.
stuff shown very explicitly. Got a
Hand
fingernail getting
stuff.
pulled out,
Yeah,
Yeah.
fingernails.
Hey,
bad,
which is so
fingernails, no
goddamn
reason to have that in.
unnecessary. I
Yeah,
have a
it's
note written as
extremely
soon as it happened. I was
Me
like, "This is
too.
just unnecessary here."
Yeah. It
There
was
is no
literally
reason.
the amount of pressure she was putting trying to reach that. It is not possible for her to have peeled her fingernail off by
I don't
accident.
care how fucking
Yeah.
cold it is either. Like, literally,
No,
there's
it
no
just
way.
doesn't. No.
Very
Yeah.
frustrating.
I will have
Anyways.
a word with Frank about this.
Also, if
Frankica
you're
will be hearing about it.
if you're afraid of dogs, this is probably also not a good
Yeah.
movie for you.
Yeah,
Even
this
though he is
this
just a
one of
good
those,
boy.
one of those angry looking dogs.
He's
so,
a Roddy.
No, he just has that face. He's a good dog. He looks
I
like a
love
good
him,
boy.
He does look like a really good boy, and I was like,
Yeah.
every time that they like, I knew he was.
I
gonna die,
couldn't
'cause
be
it's a
scared of it.
2007
Oh, God,
movie.
yeah,
No,
like-
he's so cute.
Yeah.
He was so cute, and in the scene where he's like growling and trying to get the bag away from her, it's so clear that he's just like
Yeah.
playing tug of war. He doesn't give a
Yeah.
shit.
You can tell that some of the $3.5 million was to CG out a very wagging tail.
100%. That boy's tail never stopped wagging the whole time. You can bet on it.
Anyway,
So yeah.
that's the triggers. I think those are the most of them.
So
Yeah,
Emma,
I think that's right.
Should be all.
I guess a big question then, now that we wrapped that, how do you think this movie was scary?
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna change this today to Emma's
Oh.
uncomfy corner. How
Oh, no.
uncomfy
That's so
did this
valid.
movie make
10 out
Emma?
of 10 uncomfy.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
It's
Do we
Honestly,
inaugurate
probably
this with a
gonna
10 out
be-
of 10 comfy?
it's probably gonna be like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 uncomfy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
super fair.
Just because it was real frustrating to watch. And
Yeah.
I was very uncomfortable at parts. But again,
Super reasonable.
the stuff that happened outside of watching the movie definitely kind of affected my uncomfiness as well.
Mhm.
Which happens.
Before we get into spoilers, I would like to spin off of that. I honestly didn't find, especially at the beginning, I didn't find it as uncomfy as I think the film wanted me to. This
Mhm.
movie is terrible at building suspense. It's
Oh.
horrible at
Oh,
building
yes.
suspense.
Yeah.
That
It
early
does not
conversation
know-
that he has with her is so unnatural and like stilted in a way that's not actually creepy. It's really just a lot of like, okay, where are we going with this, man? Where's this
Mhm.
conversation going? Like, you're not being creepy yet. This is really just awkward. If she wasn't chained to the chair, I don't think that I would have like any discomfort as much as you want me to. But that might be a personal thing. I just felt that like early scene where it's like, oh, we're trying to be creepy here,
Yeah.
didn't hit for me.
Yeah.
Literally,
that's
the
valid.
third note that I took was, it's the garage guy, right? It has to be. Like, he's obvious.
There's no
I-
reveal in this movie.
No.
I was really worried because the little synopsis thing I read talked about like a security guard. And so at the beginning, when she comes across
Ow.
like
Oh, and
I
there's
think he's
Carl.
Middle Eastern or Indian. And
he
he's
has that
super
scar on
super
his
nice
eye.
guy. I
Mhm.
was like, I swear to Christ, if they make this nice guy the villain, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be even more pissed at this movie.
But no,
Right.
it was creepy
Um,
Blue Eyes McGee, who's played a villain in every American Horror Story season I think I've seen him in. So
Yeah. Yeah, he do look creepy. I'm glad they made the white guy the villain rather than the person of color.
He's
So
just
at
an
least-
incel white boy who lives in a basement.
Yeah, at least this movie had that going for it, in that it didn't
Yeah.
make the
Yeah.
person of color the villain.
Yeah.
it didn't play on those stereotypes. 10 out of 10 to the bar being on the floor.
Okay.
So
The bar is as on the floor
As-
as it can be.
Yeah.
as we get into the spoil zone, I would like to say Wes Bentley, he's the one who played the villain. At so many different times, I looked at that guy and I'm like, that is the unholy love child of Ashton Kutcher, Adam Scott, and Tom Cruise.
Oh, fuck.
That's very specific but accurate.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
he does look like all
every
three of
now
those
and then
men.
he looks just like Ashton Kutcher, but then every now and then his face is just the Tom Cruise face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Always looks like
there
Adam
were a
Scott
few
the
shots,
whole time.
especially in the beginning, when he looked like Adam Scott.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
That must be why he
Yeah.
looked so familiar to me the whole time, because I looked him
Well-
up afterward and I haven't seen him in anything.
I've seen him in
I-
a lot.
One of my favorite things about American Horror Story Hotel is how there are three like borderline identical white boys that just kind of like
Yeah.
are
You're
main
absolutely
characters. So
That is
I
a
just
bad
like how
choice.
they have a guy who's like, this is the guy for white male lead. And he is consistently white male lead, but it's actually like three different actors.
it is three different actors. But you think it's the same guy every season, but they have like a rotating cast and they're white boys.
Like, I thought the guy from Murder House was this guy just like a few years before. And I'm like, oh yeah, they gave him a frumpy haircut. This makes sense. It's the same person. It's not.
Yeah, Zachary Quinto is in there at one point as well, and he also kind of just looks like all the other ones. So thanks, American Horror Story. Your casting is great. It's Sarah Paulson and three identical white guys. But Wes Bentley's in this.
Hey,
he's
and
scary.
not Stevie Nicks.
Oh,
Don't forget
yeah.
about not Stevie Nicks.
not Stevie Nicks, who plays Stevie Nicks in a not Stevie Nicks way.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
Oh.
Anyway, though, so let's get to the rest of the movie. After she goes up to try and catch her cab, she realizes that she can't get out of the building because Carl's not at the front desk to buzz her out. So she gestures to the cab saying, "Wait, don't leave. I'll be right back." And she tries to exit through the parking garage. Unfortunately, she can not leave through the parking garage either. And then, Tom comes up, turns all the lights out, and uses chloroform to knock her out. She wakes up in different clothes, which was already uncomfortable before the bigger reveal later in the movie that we all kind of probably saw coming in a very unhappy way.
Yep.
And he's just like, "Hey, isn't this great? Now we can have Christmas together." And it's very clear he has built this moment up to be something far more than she doesn't even know his name. He's just
Yeah.
the night security guy. And he ends up showing her a video of her getting assaulted in the elevator before taking her for a ride and showing her the aforementioned gropey elevator guy, who he then beats with a flashlight and hits with his car, despite her begging him not to. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing about Tom. Real piece of shit is just, "Oh, I'm such a cool, normal guy. I'm doing so many good things in the world. Shut up, woman. You don't know what you need. I'm helping you." And that's like his whole thing. While he
Yeah.
does these things for her that she begs him to stop,
You know he's on Reddit all night.
he's on Reddit all night. On the pickup forums, just being like, posting a picture of her. "How do I open? How do I open? How would you open? What do I do?" And
He posts the same
so
thing
uncomfortable.
every day,
Oh,
and nobody answers, and he's just
hate that man.
continuously posting, waiting to get a response.
but yeah, so that's our antagonist, and we spend the rest of the movie in varying stages of capture for Angela and pursuit for Tom. Sometimes he has her, sometimes he doesn't. She hides in an elevator at one point and thinks she gets connected to a security company, but it turns out it's just him putting on an accent so that she will talk to him, because he's like, "Why won't you talk to me?" The whole movie, it's so uncomfortable. It's
Yeah.
much more uncomfortable than I remember. But it does fit with my temporarily on hold and now here it is back again theme of small location horror movies, because this is just in a parking garage.
Yeah.
It's a
It's true.
bigger single location than some of the other ones I picked, and it's definitely smaller than my next movie will be,
I mean,
or larger
sure.
than my next movie will be, but it still counts.
Very confined
Um,
still. So.
Very confined for how big an area it is.
Mhm.
But yeah, she ends up finally getting away. The cops come at one point because she did call the police, but she wasn't able to talk to them because she dropped her phone outside and couldn't reach it. They show up, they do a quick patrol, and that's when she finally escapes out of the trunk of the car that Tom had shoved her into to hide her from the cops. And we go on our little our little run around the place as she escapes him, kills the dog, and then crashes her car that she ended up stealing from the rental place just so that he can come over and rescue her. And then she stabs him in the eye with a letter opener. And then she sets him on fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
While he's handcuffed to the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Yup.
That was the best part of the movie.
And that is why
When
she's
he
going to go
caught
to
on fire.
jail.
Unfortunately, yeah. That handcuff is definitely not making it look good for her, is it?
No.
So she was leaving, and then he kind of taunted her further, and so
Yeah.
she like lit the spilling gasoline on fire with a taser, and then he burned to death. But he was
Literally,
quote unquote incapacitated in that he was locked to the steering wheel, he couldn't get away. And so in the eyes of the law,
right.
you would probably get a murder charge because you didn't have to do that to get away. Like you did that because you wanted to do that.
It would end up in the hands of a jury, though, would it not?
It would.
So then it's
You
still
could have
kind
a
of up in the air,
sympathetic jury,
depending.
but the
Look-
judge can overrule it.
That's true.
sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, I would like to.
Also, I'm not a
put-
lawyer. Don't take anything I say with any actual like.
We
Right,
are
of
not
course. None
a
of us
law
are-
podcast. We
Yeah.
give no advice that should be followed. If you follow our advice, that's all on you.
We
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
qualified to give advice for being on a jury, though.
I'm not.
Have you been on a jury, Jeff?
I have not, but I have. Well, I haven't gotten summoned for jury duty. I got the letter one time, but then they didn't call me, so.
Okay, so I would like to say something that has been on my mind since the dog killing scene happened while I was watching this movie. This movie is the pinnacle of everything that I associate with 2000s horror. It has everything. It has unnecessary graphic sexual assault on screen, terrible but very entertaining gore. The dog dies graphically on screen. The music horrendous.
Oh, terrible. Oh my god.
And then my favorite, it has my absolute favorite, men's idea of what it is for a female character to be empowered.
Oof.
That's
Yep.
Yeah.
that is the bingo sheet for 2000s horror movies for me. I feel like you see it a lot, and this movie had it all. Derogatory.
Yes.
Specifically,
not- A Rob Zombie song in the credits, though.
no, it
There's
plays
not-
an Elvis song, which is almost the same.
That's true.
There's a lot
Elvis
of Elvis
is
in this
basically just Rob
And by
Zombie.
a lot, I mean the same
Except
song
worse.
twice. But
Yeah.
still.
It has one other song. It has Blue Christmas and Santa Baby.
Santa Baby's not Elvis.
Oh, who
That's
was
not
that
Elvis.
then?
I wish it
it's
was.
not Elvis. I don't know who it is.
Eartha
but-
Kitt, I
Oh,
believe.
that was a girl.
Baby.
I don't know Christmas songs. I'm still anyway. My point is, in a movie where you have the protagonist kind of get revenge at the end, in my opinion, I really enjoy seeing the punishment kind of fit the crime or be foreshadowed in some way.
Huh.
Like in Ready or Not, how they talked about how in the past people had broken deals with LaBelle and their houses had gone up. And at the end of the movie, we see that exact thing happen with Grace. Not to mention Grace obviously was completely justified, did have to do everything she did, and
Of course.
would be found innocent in any kind of shenanigans there. This movie fails at that with everything that it does that we were just talking about with Angela.
Tremendously.
Mhm.
The only part of this movie that I actually enjoyed outside of the gore was I actually really loved how Tom got pissed that she kept saying his name over and over again. Because I had
Yeah.
been thinking that. I'm like, I wish he would stop fucking saying his name. So when he called it out and they lampshaded it, I was like, that's actually, yeah, okay. That's funny. In a better movie, this would be like a highlight for me. So
Yeah.
He's like, stop trying to humanize me.
he's like,
What was that?
Stop trying to humanize yourself was his
Oh.
point. He's like, stop
Oh,
trying.
sorry.
I know you have feelings. Think about my feelings. And it's like, aha, right. That was the best conversation in the movie because it was like so like the script obviously was aware of what was going on, but Thomas was
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I wish there was more of that and less of them trying so hard.
Yeah, I'm with you. One of the things you said peeks into things that I think about this movie, so I'm going to use that as a jumping off
Yeah.
point if you don't
Let's
mind.
go.
I
You t-
don't.
you talked about how this is peak 2000s horror for a few reasons, one of which being men writing what it feels like or what they think is like a, I don't remember your exact
A good
words.
women empowerment story.
Yes,
yeah, a men's
that's it.
version of what they think empowers women.
Absolutely. So, one of or kind of like the big thing that leading into this movie affected me from real life was if any of you keep an eye on my Twitter, you would have seen this tweet, but last night me and some people went and saw a movie. I won't say what movie in case I don't want to spoil it, but
Was it maddening?
but
Sorry.
in this movie, a seemingly strong female character is killed. And it was very frustrating in that afterwards, me and one of the friends were talking about like we were frustrated with how that was handled and like kind of complaining about having to kill the female character. And the cis straight white guy was like, no, it totally makes sense for the story why that happened. And blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, buddy, take a step outside of that for a moment. I was like, there's a long history with women in media and people of color in media where they're constantly pitted against like these same sort of things, and it's frustrating to see for those groups. So for people of color, a lot of times, specifically with Black actors and actresses, when they're the leads in movies, those movies are about Black trauma, overwhelmingly so. And it's very frustrating for them to see because they just want some good representation of Black actors getting to do cool things or be in like movies other than Black trauma movies.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with women in movies. Historically, when a woman is a lead in a movie, it is about her having an abusive partner or dealing with sexual assault, or if there's like a strong female character in a movie, they're killed off to inspire the usually white like main like man lead. And it's like very frustrating. And I was like, so yes, like in the lore of the movie, it made sense for that character to die, but the people wrote the lore of the movie to get it to that point, and it's like frustrating, because people just want to have good female characters that like survive and do things, and he just was not getting it. He kept arguing with me. So going
That's
into
super
this
frustrating.
movie,
That's really
yeah,
annoying.
going into this movie, and a female-led movie about sexual assault and kidnapping and abusive people, and it's incredibly frustrating because I started thinking more about like in horror movies, what horror movies have a female lead where it's not about like those things, because there are ensemble casts where like the quote unquote main character is male, but it's like a minor main character, and that screen time is kind of shared for everybody. But in those movies, plenty of stuff happens. Women are often still kind of treated as like a side character though, where they're dealing with like eldritch shit or zombies or whatever else. But when men are the leads, they get to do all these cool other horror movie like things. But when it's a sole female lead, normally, overwhelmingly, like their movies are about abusive partners or like all of
Right.
this stuff. And it's
Right.
very frustrating to see and it's very exhausting to see. And so having just had that conversation with this guy going into this movie, I was like, motherfucker. Because it
Yeah.
was just kind of like
Yeah.
an extension of that conversation.
I was gonna
And
say,
I
this sounds
was,
like this movie was that conversation as
yeah,
a
I
movie.
was
Yeah.
so
Definitely
frustrated, like
not the
watching
movie
through
to
it.
come
I'm like,
into.
oh, of course the guy like put her in this sexy revealing dress. Like, of course he would. Why not? And that insinuates that he did other things probably.
Yeah.
And just all
Mhm.
this other bullshit. It was annoying. Nina, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, sorry. I usually just keep that up to keep my thoughts like on point for myself.
I should try
Um,
that.
Hashtag just ADHD things. So my thought was like even I even like on stuff we've talked about here on the podcast, like we have, because I think it's partially because of who we are as people choosing these movies to watch. Most of the movies that we've watched with female characters on this podcast, like it's been a good mix of both, because we've had Underwater and Crimson Peak and movies that like
Suspiria.
and
Suspiria.
Suspiria, where it's not necessarily about abusive partners, but we've also had stuff like what was it? The Invitation, or Malignant, where abuse is a big like forefront thing. Even if those weren't like the points of the story as they
It's
were
in
in
there.
this one,
Yeah.
they were it was still very present, and it is kind of a trope in horror media to have an abusive partner.
Mhm.
It's super freaking frustrating. And again, that's part of why back when Noah and I first met and we were talking, I said I wasn't a fan of horror. A lot of that was to do with slashers, and another lot of that was to do with 2000s horror, because I don't love the kind of film bros that you'll be like, oh, can you introduce me to horror? And they'll give you a bunch of movies that have graphic assault scenes because that's what they think is scary.
Yeah.
Or that's what they think you'll find scary. And they're right, but they don't understand why it's so upsetting, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
how it's
Mhm.
like we don't have to like work hard to empathize with those characters a lot of the time, because that could literally happen to like female presenting women or people at any given moment. It's very like imminent, and that powerlessness is not something that we have to see portrayed graphically to relate to. So to see it portrayed graphically is just like, yeah, exactly like you were saying. It's like, hey, can we like not do this? We've seen it so many times. It's not as shocking and groundbreaking as you think it is.
Yeah.
And I again, this is like obviously part of why I didn't like the movie.
Sure.
The other part is just that it's even in the way of movies that tell this story, it's not a good one. It's like,
No.
not only does it tell a story that I don't personally enjoy seeing told, it does it poorly at most turns. So,
Mhm.
Mhm. Like a movie that I do not plan on having us watch on here, just because it is definitely not a great audience pleaser.
Uh-huh.
It's called Revenge, and it is an assault revenge movie.
Yikes.
But it, instead of it being like, because a lot of these movies tend to focus around the woman dying and then a father, a boyfriend, a
Mm.
sister, maybe
oh, like
a
Death Wish.
brother,
Mhm.
maybe coming
Mhm.
in later and avenging her. This was like a much more of a like, but she actually didn't die, and she kills all these guys really brutally and has like, and then gets away from this like really
Right.
terrible situation.
And there are a lot of movies
It's
like that
it's
too.
a movie that handles the topic a lot better. I just gave the worst summary of it, but it's what it boils down to. You know, there's
Mhm.
not a lot that you can do with it, but it's handled so much more tactfully than other movies. Like, because another big thing is like still showing the assaults happening. Like this movie
Yeah.
had 2 separate scenes of that. That movie did not show that happening. In fact, the only nudity we saw was like dudes, like 3 different times.
You see Dong?
She was not shown. You do see Dong
Full
flopping
dong.
around while this guy's walking around with a rifle.
Yikes.
Nice.
Woof.
Hmm
Nina.
And also bleeding a lot.
Oh.
But, you know,
Ooh.
all that being said, this movie, highlighting them next to each other, high key, shows that this was no way. It's bad at it.
Yeah.
I think that going back to what Emma said about movies that are about trauma,
Mhm.
the frustrating thing is movies that there are movies that like address, there are like satires of or that are self-referential of this kind of trope that we saw. There's movies like Jennifer's Body. There's movies like you said, Revenge. There's some other like Final Girl movies, and then there's I would classify Fresh as one of those movies as well, based on how the story is told and the fact
I
that
would as
it's
well.
and like those movies are still about trauma, and that's another reason that like, you know, some people might not want to watch them even if they are calling out that like kind of thing.
Mhm.
They're still functionally focusing women's stories on that aspect of our experience, you know, where
Mhm.
it's like, yes, it's calling it out, but it's still telling a story about this trauma, and it's not like there sometimes what you want is a movie that is just like the way that it addresses or the way that it like combats the fact that there are so many stories about women's trauma is by not being about women's trauma at all. So stuff like Underwater or Alien, where it's like we're not even gonna do it. We're going to combat this by putting things out into the world that are good rather than like directly addressing the negativity. So there's a lot of nuance to that kind of like situation where like the satires and the addressing it, like obviously I would like us all to watch Fresh next week. So I'm obviously going that route with how I'd like to talk about this movie, but there are also other ways to address it that are more like positive reinforcement kind of thing. And I think that's really interesting. I think it's really interesting how we as a society of people kind of work through culture and media evolving by trying to address things we don't like in different ways, if that makes sense.
Man,
Yeah.
that comment reminds me of something that pisses me off a lot is people that pretend that media isn't evolving. You know, it's the same kind of comments you get where it's like, "Oh, you could never say that today." It's like, "Yeah, but that's not necessarily a bad thing." It's like
Yeah.
public opinion shifts. Like
Mhm.
I mean, like even just like looking at this movie, for example, you can tell it's a 2000s movie.
Oh,
How do you know
totally.
that? I don't know.
Camera
There's
quality.
some fashion elements, I guess, the camera quality, I guess, but then there's other elements that are like, I can't tell you how, this is just a 2000s movie.
Yeah.
Like
The
even
cell
the
phones
language
are
of
also
film.
a big giveaway.
Oh, that is a big giveaway. That is a big. But you know, like there's so much stuff like that where like even just like the language of film can tell us that what we are out of that era,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and like the stuff that everyone's okay with having in movies has changed even more than that. You know, like things just change, and that's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing that as the times have gone by, we're like, hey, we don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
That's normal. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna go through phases of being like, hey, we are done with this thing. Let's get a different, better thing in its place, a more inclusive thing, or just like flat out better. Like you can just
Yeah.
upgrade the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to
It
be.
doesn't take
It's
away.
not taken away. It's just being improved upon.
There being
And-
more
You know?
stories with women and minorities in positions where it's not focusing on their trauma doesn't take away. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, Jeff, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, and also doing a new thing does not mean just remaking those old things. Stop doing
Yes.
that. Even if you're
Mhm.
trying to update them,
Yeah.
just make a new thing.
Just don't.
That was.
Please
That
just
was-
make a new thing.
I liked the new Texas Chainsaw. Let me
That's
put that out
fine.
into the world. I
It
liked
still
it
shouldn't
better than I
exist.
thought I would think.
When I
But the
watch it, no
fact that
matter
they
how
just-
much I like it, it shouldn't exist.
And that's the thing. It's like they're taking a thing that already was a good thing. I'm specifically thinking like because the first movie was about how what's her name, the main character. I don't remember anyone's
Sally.
names. Sally. It was about her, and it was already like having a woman as the lead was already a big deal. And they're like, that was the point of the movie. And that was like someone's takeaway for the remake. And it's like, what if we made it
No.
more women?
Aha.
And what if we pointed out constantly that they were women and that they were millennial Gen Zers or whatever,
Fuck.
and that they had a group of friends that were also a bunch of minorities. Like, what if we pointed that out over and over again? I hated it.
That was what so, and it's like that. Just you saying that made me think that's what someone took away from Texas Chainsaw, and they're like, what if we added more of that in our remake of it?
Yeah.
There was
If
a
they
good movie
hadn't
there with
been-
all those characters that isn't a Texas Chainsaw movie,
If
but they were so
hadn't-
committed to it being that.
If they hadn't been fools and cowards, they would have given Leatherface a TikTok, and it would have been a focal point of the plot.
I'd pay good
Like
money
they
to see
did with-
Leatherface doing TikTok dances. I don't know.
I actually
like
I
they
would
did
watch
with
it.
I
I would watch it.
guess that's kind of spoilers. I can't say that. Never mind. I was about to put out spoilers for the new Batman movie.
oh
Yeah.
Riddler's TikTok.
Yeah, basically. They needed to give Leatherface a TikTok the way they gave Riddler a Twitch.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Nice. All right, so back to P2 though.
Back to P2. Now that
Back to
we've
P2.
gotten all of the annoying, like, not annoying, all of the
We-
constructive conversation
Sure.
about how it's a very bad 2000s movie that does all
Yeah.
the things that I hate,
Can
that we
I-
hate about 2000s movies.
Mhm.
Can I
We've
say
shat
one
on it
other
a
thing
little.
really quick?
Oh yeah.
I would love to hear one other thing, maybe even more.
Never mind, we're not done with that part. Go ahead, Emma.
Just one quick thing.
Yeah.
As a peek behind the curtain, Noah, you were talking about revenge movies a bit earlier, and you may have noticed we haven't really watched any revenge movies, specifically because so often they are from a perspective of like, oh, woman gets assaulted and then
Mhm.
like father, husband, whoever,
And it's her
goes
fault.
on a
It is
revenge
important you
rampage.
know that.
Yeah, and
Not
normally those,
always.
because revenge movies are
50%.
often very like gritty and like gory, and so the sexual assault stuff there is also like in the same lens, and it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's why we never talk about revenge movies and why we haven't reviewed any.
Yeah. And don't intend to in the future.
Don't
Yeah.
intend to, and we try to avoid movies that have like grotesque sexual assaults in them because
Yeah.
it's just very, 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 very uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
who wants to see that?
Mhm.
No. Sorry, Evil Dead.
Does Evil Dead have that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the tree. That
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, is that what's gonna
the
save you
fuck?
from having to watch Evil Dead for this podcast?
Yeah, no, it's a scene that was
Yeah.
included where there's a tree and a woman, and everyone involved says we don't remember why we kept that in. We don't really know why we put it in. We wish we hadn't.
Yeah, Sam
That's
Raimi himself said
uncomfy.
like it doesn't add anything to the movie and he shouldn't have put it in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's much better ways to, and that's the only. I love the Evil Dead remake.
But it's worse.
Unfortunately, they did make that scene worse. They decided rather than try and fix that, they made it worse.
yeah.
Wow.
So that sucks.
Yeah. Anyways, back to P2 though.
anyways.
We have
Back
shat
to
on this
P2.
movie
Are we
a
good
little
to talk
bit.
about?
Yeah.
I want to talk just for a minute about some stuff that it did well, and then we can get back to shitting on it. Does that sound
I was
perfect?
gonna say I have like 2 or 3 things that I think it did well. Also,
Okay, we'll see if we've got the same 2 or 3 things here then. When Angela gets put unconscious with that chloroform or whatever that is, she wakes
Mhm.
up and she feels like shit for a while afterward, and she throws up on the floor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lots of times in movies, people get knocked out with that stuff, and when they wake up, they're just like fine after a couple seconds.
oh yeah,
And that
yeah, yeah.
always annoys the shit out of me. So for someone to actually wake up from that kind of thing feeling bad and actually have effects from it felt pretty big to me. I liked that.
It was an
Later on in the
interesting
movie,
detail.
yeah, later on in the movie, Tom gets choked out and he's not unconscious for an entire hour. He's out for a few seconds, which is what happens when you get choked out. I
Mhm.
really liked that. With that said, he does wake up a little bit too aware, but I'm willing to allow it.
He had a hoarse voice for a minute though, so that was also nice.
He did.
Yeah, he was
Um,
neighing a lot.
With that stuff said, I think that is kind of canceled out by when she sprays him in the eyes with that like wasp spray or whatever that is.
No, I think it was window cleaner.
Window cleaner. Okay, whatever it is, he recovered a little too quickly from that. His eyes should have been all fucked up for a very long time.
I wish that they had been red at the end. I wish that they had committed and given him like red eyes.
Yeah, at the least,
like they should
right?
have been bloodshot. It was a big
Yeah.
miss for me.
For as much
Especially
blood as they
since-
managed to cram into this movie,
Right. There
why
was so
could they
much-
not
and-
make his face red? Put some tears on it or something. Like,
Yeah, especially because they stab him in the eye 5 seconds later. It would have been
Yeah.
a great moment for him to be sitting there with his
deranged.
red leaking eye and his one stabbed eye, and it's
Yeah.
like this. He'd look fucked up.
He would?
They wanted fucked up,
Yeah.
and they weren't willing to commit.
It seems really odd that that one particular touch is one that they just wouldn't go for.
So none of those things were on my list of things that I thought the movie did well.
Fascinating. Okay.
I thought the movie did a great job of using a familiar location because a lot of people know what the inside of a parking garage is like.
Yeah.
It was easy enough to tell where things were approximately. Like you could kind of get the idea of like, oh yeah, this is what it looks like. And like just because Nina brought it up, what was the name of that movie?
What did Nina bring up?
The hide and seek movie with the rich people.
Oh,
see
Ready or
movie?
Not.
Ready or not?
And just because Nina brought up Ready or Not, that house confused the shit out of me. I have no idea how to navigate that house.
Oh, yeah.
It's ironically because it is a real house, so I think that's hilarious that I couldn't figure it out. But like, this because it's a parking garage, I felt like I knew how to get around the area.
Yeah.
Even when the elevator got involved, I'm like, cool. No, I can still navigate like where we're supposed to be here. I
It's
still
still
know
pretty
kind of what's
straightforward.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still reasonably straightforward. I liked that a lot. Also, I liked how they managed to make such a large area feel so claustrophobic.
Mm.
If he didn't have the dog with him, I don't think it would have felt as claustrophobic. She could have hid in another car and would have been safe,
Yeah.
But instead, because there was a dog there, she could not just have the luxury of hiding somewhere. I thought that was like atmosphere wise. I thought this movie managed to stay like tense and uncomfortable outside of the assault content.
That's the thing, though, is
I
the
like
setting. The setting lends it a lot of that tension. It does that really effectively. But it kind of feels like everything else about the movie just does the tension in such a bad way. Like from the wrong
Yeah.
directions and also just ineffectively for the most part. Like Nina mentioned earlier, the music is such shit. Oh my god.
It's so
It's
bad.
really not helpful at any point.
When they're driving the car into Elevator Man, I just wrote down, what the hell is this climax of Saw music playing right now? 'Cause
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like the music from
knockoff
Saw.
music from Saw. But not even like from Saw. It sounds like someone was like, they watched Saw and they're like, I want that. And then they paid one guy with a synth to write that.
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
watch the movie again
That's-
or actually reference it. They just had someone do it.
That happens a lot with music and media, though. Actually,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
is
Oh,
a director
totally.
will be like, I really like the song from this part of this movie, but we
Yeah.
can't use that, so I need you to make something that sounds similar.
Legally
Yeah.
distinct.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
love
it's really
But
funny that
it's-
Noah compares it to the music from Saw, because that's how the music from Saw already sounds.
It does, doesn't it?
To go back to the suspense thing, this movie constantly had me missing Creep. Actually,
Creep is such a
Um,
good movie.
It's well
a wonderful
done.
movie.
It's
because
well done.
like the
I'd-
suspense and the discomfort of how awkward those conversations are and how uncomfortable you feel the whole time, like those conversations were well written, and I feel like the kind of introduction conversation or even some of the later conversations that those two characters have are what they were going for in some parts, like the same feeling
Mhm.
is what they were going for in a lot of parts of P2, but they just missed the mark so hard. And
Yeah.
I think it's important to add to bring attention back again to the fact that in Creep, there maybe is some kind of borderline like sexual feeling content, but it's two men, and it's never like outright sexual assault portrayed, and it manages to do suspense, discomfort, and danger really well. And this movie felt like it was constantly just pulling cheap shots to try and get the suspense when it didn't have to, because like Noah said,
Yeah.
the setting was such that there wasn't that many places where she could be safe. So the way that they kind of structured the plot, kind of built Thomas's character, all felt like they were doing the most obvious thing when they had a setting where they can do some really fun, not as obvious things with it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of disappointing in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, Creep people, the
I-
people who did Creep, do a movie in a parking garage so I can see someone do this concept better.
They need to do Creep 3 first.
They do need
Or-
to do Creep 3.
or
Have
what you
watched
could
Creep
do-
2 yet?
I did watch Creep 2.
How did you
Yeah.
like that one?
We can talk about this after we finish this episode of the podcast
Hmm.
because that's a
I think
different
that's super fair.
conversation.
That is
Yeah,
a whole
fair
different
enough.
Yeah, maybe
conversation.
not
Um,
right now.
Yeah. Can I mention 2 quick things that bothered me about this movie?
You don't
Well,
even
one
have to make
thing-
them quick.
One thing really did bother me. The other thing I thought was funny.
Mhm.
The funny one, at the beginning of the movie, she's going down the elevator to the garage to get to her car, and she's on the phone with her sister. And the camera is placed to where the phone is blocking her mouth, but you can still see her jaw movement. And she is very clearly not saying like the actual lines that are being said. And
my
it's
God.
just, it's really funny how blatant it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other thing is during the movie, police do arrive at some point. What's his face locks her in the trunk of a car, and the police kind of patrol through the parking garage. And then as they're leaving, she is able to get out of the trunk and starts running to try to get their help. So they leave the parking garage. They're on the like ramp to go up to the street, which is a very short ramp. And she gets within line of sight and starts shouting for help. And security guard boy is between her and the police car. But the police car is not far out at all.
No.
And anybody who's been in a parking garage knows those bitches echo a
they
lot.
They do.
loud?
If she
Oh,
had
yeah.
been yelling, those cops absolutely would have heard her.
I'm pretty sure they still had a
And-
window rolled down even.
Yeah, it
Now,
w-
Emma, this is unfair. You're not thinking. They had their Bob Seger cranked. They were ready to go.
They were cranking Bob Seger with or without the
damn,
Silver
you're
Bullet
right.
Band.
Absolutely. But no, that just really bothered me because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
they absolutely would have heard her.
Yeah,
Oh
Um,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm betting they would have noticed her cell phone on the pavement on the way in or out as well before rolling over it.
Oh, I would hope so.
Like that
they're
seemed
cops.
pretty obvious.
They're cops.
Yeah,
New York
yeah,
cops,
they're
even.
not really looking.
Can't live with them. Can't burn them.
What was I gonna say about some bad stuff? Oh, the first opening scene in the movie where very much like ATM, this movie opens up with some office bullshit.
Yeah,
Real quick, that's one of the ways you can tell it's an early 2000s. Or
Oh,
Oh,
the
yeah, The
office
Office.
bullshit.
No, not the Office bullshit. The fact that we get a scene from later in the movie at the beginning to be like,
Oh.
you better stick around for this part.
oh,
You
that's
don't
also
need
an.
that. I'm
that's
already
also-
watching the movie. I'm watching the goddamn movie. You don't need
That-
you don't need to sell me on it.
That is also
It's
an
already here.
Alexander Aja thing. He does that in other movies.
I hate it.
That's
I don't
one of the
like it. It
things
makes-
that
it
reminded
makes
me
it-
of him.
It's the director looking at you saying you're too stupid to stick around for this movie,
You gotta know that this is
but
gonna
here's
happen.
why you should. Anyway, I'm sorry, Nina. Continue.
Right. I was gonna say, I asked Noah early on in this movie what the budget was. The reason that I did this is because the shot reverse shots in the office bullshit at the beginning of the movie are so incompetent and so poorly shot that I thought this was an amateur film at first.
I did too.
I don't blame you for thinking that.
It got a lot better once it got to the stuff they clearly wanted to be shooting.
Sure.
But that first conversation, none of the basic language of film of have the people in the shots reverse shot be facing the direction that the audience like knows that they're would be facing each other, so had them facing opposite directions, so we know that they're talking towards each other. Didn't do any of that shit. Fuck the basic language of film. We don't care. I was so frustrated. It was clear that they just wanted to get through that scene so that they could get to the good stuff, and I was like, this
So
sucks.
let's play a game. Let's guess, what did they spend $3.5 million on?
Renting the
because
parking lot for
I was
however
gonna
many
say, we
days.
have the parking lot rental because it had to be empty.
We got blood.
We got
And
a lot
CG
of blood,
You got a
and
lot of-
some CG. We've got the lobby of a business building. What else did they spend money on?
Water,
Because
the flood scene.
A
okay,
dog.
so there's some cool, like $300 worth of water. Oh no. But you know, like there's a couple of things here
Yeah.
that you can tell they spent money on, but like this is no disrespect to Wes Bentley, who's the only name I looked up from this movie, or any of the other actors or actresses. I can't imagine everyone got paid a lot. It's not the movie
They
did make
weren't-
7.7 million though.
Huh.
Like it made back its budget. It was a success. Like twice its budget.
Yeah, it's tough. It's weird. It's hard to see where all that money went. Which, I mean, that's how I felt about ATM as well.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
ATM
It's
felt
just
like
like,
a
why
money
was this so
laundering
expensive
scheme.
to make? This is ridiculous. Speaking of which, do we want to talk about all the stuff in this movie that reminds us of ATM? Because
Mhm.
wow,
Emma, I'm very
Christmas
sorry that you
office
can't
bullshit.
participate in
Yeah,
this part.
I've never seen ATM, but
Bummer.
I'll happily listen.
Here, yeah, you will, I think, enjoy how many things are the same.
Office bullshit.
Office
Right
bullshit.
off the bat.
Christmas.
It's cold outside because it's Christmas. It's cold. We're gonna talk about how cold it is outside all the time.
Yeah.
Christmas party bullshit. In general,
One was an office Christmas party. One is a home Christmas party. It comes with the territory of Christmas, but since it was tied to office, we got 3 different items now so far.
The cops
it
show
a-
up and they're terrible at everything.
Yeah, the cops
Oh,
show
yeah.
up and they don't do anything.
It's
The
cold
cops in
outside
this
and we're
do
wet now.
even less than they do in ATM.
Yeah,
That's
at least
true.
the
Yeah.
cops got killed in ATM trying to help.
Wow, sort of.
These cops just left.
But yeah, it's cold outside and we're wet now. Something happened and now we're wet. And
Because
it's so cold outside and now
of-
we're cold and wet.
Because
Fire
of the
hose.
bad guy
And a-
flooding something with a fire
Yeah.
hose.
The consistency of the fire hose is actually, that pisses me off.
Right?
Car don't start.
car
Like-
car no starty. Something in the car is sharp, and I'm going to stab someone with it at some point.
Yeah.
What was sharp in
The
the car?
letter opener.
She took that from his office.
Oh, she took that from his office. Oh, well, stabby.
Whatever.
But still, that's so far. That's 7
That
items.
is seven things.
That's not even us getting like too detailed. This is
Yeah.
just 7 quick grabs.
Okay, so in ATM, when Josh Peck ran at the clothesline, he would have just got chopped in half. I would like to point that out. If this movie's gore was put into ATM, then that's how that would work.
Yeah, his head
Oh,
would've come off.
totally. In Alexander Aja's ATM, he would have gotten cut in half. Yeah, the line would have been set lower, so it wouldn't just be his head. Even
It would have been like Ghost Ship.
It would have been like Ghost Ship. Yeah, they would have like
I
laid
haven't
on it
seen
and it would have,
Ghost
like,
Ship,
slid
so-
off.
Oh, the opening is next level.
It's
You'll
kind
like
of
it.
famous. I
Nice.
always thought it was from a Final Destination film, but it's Ghost Ship for some reason.
For context.
Yeah, those are the big ones. I think like the setup and everything. Misogyny is another one. Just
oh, sure.
both movies.
I mean, that's
But-
just. It was 2007. What else can we expect? I'm willing to
I,
not count
I
that
wish
as
that
being.
wasn't something that we could say.
Yeah.
They didn't have ideas back then.
I'm just
They were
saying.
like
I don't
women.
think we can. I think ATM took that from everything else. I don't think it took that from P2
Yeah, that's fair.
specifically.
I
Although
don't think-
we do in both cases get an annoying incel boy who's obsessed with a blonde woman. So
Oh, we do get that. We do get awkward, annoying incel boy who's obsessed with a blonde woman.
Oh yeah.
in ATM he's the main character and not the villain. But like,
And you're supposed to like him.
but you don't because you can't.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have anything else to talk about this movie.
I would
if
love
we're
to
being
talk
honest.
Honestly?
about one more thing with this movie. I'd like to
Let's
talk about
go.
Noah's notes unless anyone else has anything to say.
Elvis. I think we should have gotten some Elvis earlier on in the movie. It's if it's going to be
Yes.
such a big thing for Tom, if we're going to get him singing and
Yeah.
dancing with it, we should have been clued in earlier in the movie that that's one of his things.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I feel
instead
like
of
that
just
would have
him
been
playing
nice.
it over the intercom and then looking over at a picture of himself as Elvis.
Yeah.
Like he dressed up as Santa at one point, and then he just took it off again. Like she had the Santa costume because she was supposed to dress up as Santa or something. I'm guessing, but
Yeah, what was the deal with that? That was weird.
they're like, "Oh, the costume! You gotta bring the costume." What are the kids gonna say?
Yeah. What if the movie had been set at Halloween instead? And the
So he
whole
would be dressed as
time,
Elvis?
the whole movie, Tom is dressed as Elvis.
I would have watched the shit out of that.
That'd be better. And her family is calling her like, "Where are you for the Halloween party with the kids?"
the kids.
And she's like, "I'm not gonna miss Halloween for business this year." And they're like, "I can't believe you're missing Halloween for business again."
Yeah, no, it would be better.
the
100%.
firm.
The
Ah.
firm.
Okay, Noah's notes.
Wait,
Let
so before we go into Noah's notes, Nina, you're a writer. So do you
I do
have any
write.
like limericks or anything?
Ooh, a
You
limerick.
guys are
Oh
really
god.
putting me on the
Limerick?
spot.
Yeah.
I used to be really good at limericks, but you should really ask Noah. He's the haiku master.
Being good at limericks seems embarrassing, doesn't it? Like to be really good at limericks specifically, that seems
Yeah.
really embarrassing to me.
You're so
Fucking
mean.
nerd.
Sorry. You guys are so mean to me. What did I do to deserve this? You're the one who put me on the spot about limericks. If you can't think
Now
of
we read the notes. They
Wait,
were
I
written
have-
by Noah.
I have a poem.
Please, Nina, go on.
there's the haiku. Noah did
Okay,
a haiku.
yeah.
Nice.
Did
That
you,
does
Emma?
work.
Did you want to take it away with whatever?
No.
Free
Noah
verse
did,
slam poetry.
Noah did a haiku.
A haiku?
I'm so angry I missed National
he beat me
Haiku
to
Day
it.
this year.
Oh no.
I'm so mad I missed it. I had it set in my phone to remind me and I worked all day.
That's like your
Oh, that
Christmas though.
stinks.
I can't believe you
I know.
missed Haiku Day for the firm.
Wow.
I missed it for the firm.
For business.
All right, Nina, read away.
All right. We start out with a note of Noah quoting me saying, "Why is this the same plot synopsis as ATM?" It's because it literally does have almost the identical plot synopsis to ATM. It's like, someone gets trapped in a place and there's a mysterious man stalking her, and it's like, whoa, I've never heard of that one before. Noah says, "Is this a movie that has a preview of the end at the beginning? I don't remember." Next line, Lamau, it is. Noah says, "Gotta love a nice babe. It was an accident, and I feel so bad, I swear," at the start of our Christmas movie.
Oh my gosh.
Can-
Can we
You
talk
know something
about-
I hate? Can I say how I hate how they made her defend him?
Right?
Yeah.
That's fucking
Yeah,
awful.
what the fuck?
I hated that. That was like, I was so uncomfortable the
Yeah.
whole time. That was so clearly written by a man. No woman's gonna say that shit. They might
Yeah.
like try
And
and
she
make sure that
shouldn't.
he doesn't get killed, but she's not
Yeah.
gonna say,
Sure.
"Oh, it was hardly rape, babe."
Yeah. Like, come
Bam.
on.
No
I,
one's
one's
I
gonna.
just would like to take a moment to address this as well, because that's something that bothers me. And I'm going to be a huge nerd for a second, or in just a second. But for one, people, if a man does gross things to you at work, absolutely report him, get him fired, ruin his fucking life.
Yes,
Because
Mhm.
he deserves it. He made that choice.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. It's his.
Yeah, fuck
Yeah,
that guy.
I was like, okay, Tom, yes, he's probably done this before. He'll probably do it again. Like, report him. Like, I don't give a shit. But also, a huge nerd thing. This topic has annoyed me for a little bit now. Because for one, I have experience in the past where I came out at my like waiting tables job, and then the next day after coming out to everybody, a male coworker did something shitty, and I was like,
Oh my
I
god.
didn't report him. I didn't report him or anything, and I wish I had. But
Holy shit.
so in anime right now,
Oh.
there are 3 very popular children in anime right now. There's There's Boji from Ranking of Kings.
Mhm.
Best
Mhm.
boy. Love him. There's Anya from Spy Family, who's adorable. Sweet baby child. And then there's Kotaro from, I think the anime's like Kotaro Lives Next Door or something. And people talk about how precious all three of them are, and like there's a big argument about over like which one's the most precious, kind of. But I am here publicly to announce fuck Kotaro
Okay.
because
Oh my god.
he's a child, but basically the premise of the anime is that he lives alone in this apartment complex and becomes close to all of his neighbors because he's a little kid. He's a very like mature little kid who largely takes care of himself, but the rest of the adults in the complex like all kind of have this tendency to like check in on him and make sure he's okay. And there's this one episode where one of the neighbors that he's gotten really close to is this woman, and it's revealed the woman has an abusive boyfriend. And
Oh.
like one of the like things of the episode, one of the conflicts of the episode is the girl's like, I don't know, like, should I call the police on him, but I don't want to like ruin his life. And Kotaro's like, no, like he still cares about you a lot, even though he has a bad way of showing
Come
it.
on.
You shouldn't ruin his life by calling the cops. You should just move away. And she's like, you're right. I'm just gonna move away
The fuck?
and not call the cops and report him because like I don't want to ruin his life. And it's the episode is framed of like, yeah, she did the right thing. Kotaro helped her. And so I'm like, fuck that kid. Fuck that
Yeah.
child. He's
Yeah,
a piece
fuck
of
that
shit.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
that's not ideal.
Yeah.
That's really bad. But
Yes.
what hurts me even more is that in this movie they have the victim themselves pull that argument. Like, and obviously she's
Yeah.
trying to save him from getting like beat to shit with a flashlight or whatever.
Mhm.
But like they are putting the words in her mouth of her
Yeah.
saying like, oh, they're functionally being like, oh, you shouldn't ruin his life. He has a family or whatever. Like, and regardless of the situation, they are having her say that after showing on screen what she went through,
Yeah.
and I can't help but feel like it's a metaphor for something. You know, I can't help but feel like they're trying to excuse it in a way. Even if they're like, oh, but like, you know, it's misplaced that he's trying to, yeah, it's misplaced that he's trying to
Yeah.
like do this for her. And she should be able to handle it the way she wants to. But the
Mhm.
way that they wrote her saying what they had her say felt like excuses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
very
felt
much.
way over the top for what anyone would say in that situation. And it felt like stuff that like you wouldn't even say. Like why was she trying to excuse that stuff? Why was that even
Yeah.
part of the conversation?
It doesn't
Like,
make
obviously
sense.
Anyway, I freaking hate that. That part really pissed me off, and I didn't remember that it happened until we were in the notes. So thank
Yeah.
you for that tangent, everyone.
Yeah,
Just to extend
absolutely.
the tangent a little bit more.
Yeah.
Why,
Hell
if he
yeah.
is not the building security guy, I forgot to mention this earlier, he is the parking lot attendant specifically.
Mhm.
So why does he have access to the cameras in the elevator?
Oh, because it's the parking lot elevator. It's not the main elevator.
Um,
It goes from the It only goes from the lobby to the parking garage.
Oh,
I-
this is something that really bugged. No, you go
Huh.
ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
I don't
I
think
was
that
just
makes
about
it
to
much
say
better,
I don't know
but-
how much sense that makes.
No,
But
it
then
doesn't.
I don't know much about security cameras in whatever kind of office building that is. So
What? Well, okay, but is that the one that she got like assaulted in as well? Was
No.
the parking lot? So how does he have that tape?
yeah,
that's a great question.
Where did that tape
might-
come from?
That's
Where
is
did
what
he?
I'm
How did
saying.
he see that?
Well, I mean,
Like,
that might be where it happened.
that's
It could
true.
be.
We don't
It's
actually know.
within the realm of possibility, sure, but what's the likelihood?
And why would he be groping someone in the same elevator every time? Because he says he's seen this happen
Yeah,
to several women.
Tom says he's
So,
seen him do it
this
to
is not
every woman in the
groping elevator.
office. Like
Maybe he does it.
Fucking,
in
why would
that
you say that,
elevator.
Nina?
This is really disgusting, but hypothetically, if he knew that his office had access to the security footage in the
Mm.
main elevator, maybe he would do it in the security elevator or in the parking lot elevator because his company doesn't
Oh.
directly
That's
have
fair.
access to those.
That's true.
Oh,
That
yeah,
would
maybe
make
that's an
sense.
intentional move on his
Harder
part.
for him to get caught.
They
While we're
don't get into
talking
any
about
of
the
this within the
elevators.
movie itself, so I'm still
No.
counting it as a plot hole, but that is
100%.
actually a decent explanation.
While we're on the topic of elevators, I
Okay.
hate that they showed that the security guard Carl had access to these keys that could like access the greater building, which she can't do because she doesn't have those keys. But when she finds Carl's body, she doesn't even try to check him for those
She
keys to
doesn't
access
even
the rest of the
check.
building.
Yeah.
That really bothered me because they drew so much attention to the fact that he had those keys on him, and then that didn't come back into play. It was clearly just there to show us that, oh, this is why she can't go into the building at large.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, great, but then you gave us his body and you didn't even have her check and find them gone,
Yeah.
like nothing. Okay. That really bugged me. Anyway, the notes. Okay.
There's not a lot of notes.
There's
to
not
this
a lot
one.
of notes. Noah says Lamau, he unbuttoned the same sleeve twice.
Oh, he did when he was going to beat the guy with the flashlight. He unbuttoned his left sleeve, and then
Oh,
the
did
next
he?
shot, we see the right sleeve rolled up, and he's unbuttoning his left sleeve.
Classic.
Oh, that's
Cinema
dumb.
I
Sins
literally-
ding noise.
Well, I literally only was thinking of it because as I saw him unbuttoning, I thought of that one scene where Henry Cavill was just like throwing those two little air
And
punches
his
to like
beard
get ready to
appears
go.
in
You
the
mean
trailer.
when he reloaded his arms in the bathroom?
Yeah, when he reloaded his arms.
God, it's so good.
Ah,
I
It's
want to watch
such a
that
s-
movie just for that.
It's so silly, but damn if it isn't good.
Noah says, I love how she happens to be cowering in the only part of the elevator that can be seen on camera.
oh
Look,
yeah.
the best part of this movie was her camera destroying montage where she goes around with this like absolute feral energy just whacking all the cameras. But he still has
Yeah.
access to so many cameras.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't come back
It
either.
doesn't
we never even
affect
got to see-
anything.
Like when the cops were in the place, it would have been so much better if he flipped to the next camera and then it was dead and then
Yeah.
we get to see him panic.
We
Like,
get the
that could've
scene of
added
her
tension.
destroying the cameras, and then it never matters. Why?
Never.
I really hated that. I really hated that because it was a great scene and it would have like been nice to see him put on edge in front of the cops where he's been so suave this whole time
Yeah.
and have him have to actually cover for himself in a way he didn't
Then him
expect.
grabbing the axe would have made sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There was nothing that there was no reason to grab the axe.
Yeah, once again, the movie just doing a really bad job with its own tension. Like, just what?
Yes. Noah says, Tom, moments after sicking his dog on Angela. How could you kill my dog after all I've done for you?
Yeah.
Like
Defenseless
literally,
animal.
that was another problem I had. I have so many problems, obviously, but that was another problem I had with this movie was that like she constantly, oh, this man's trying to kill me or whatever. He seems like he wants to like possess her and doesn't actually want her dead for most of the movie until
Yeah.
he sicks his dog on her.
Yeah.
There were two outcomes to that situation. The woman you love dies or the dog dies. And it seems like,
Yeah.
okay, one could make the argument that he was trying to get a reason to vilify her, and he knew that her killing the dog would give him an excuse to be the victim in this situation, which
He does
explains why he
seem-
reacts the way he did.
He does seem legitimately surprised and upset about Rocky, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
he didn't expect her to kill him.
So he just wanted then that's almost out of character. We don't have much
Yeah.
character for this man, but the one thing we
No.
know is that he's obsessed with and wants to possess Angela.
Yeah.
And then in that moment, he just says, fuck it, and like unleashes this dog that cannot be stopped on her. Like, why
Yeah.
would he do that apart from so that we, the audience, get the obligatory dog dies scene?
yeah,
think-
which
That
is
pisses me
just...
It has more to do with him being mentally unwell.
Yes.
Certainly.
I don't think he thought the dog would kill her. I think he
fair.
had this misguided view of his dog that his dog
Mm.
would just like
that
stop
he would know
her,
what to do.
and the dog would just kind of stop from there.
I would
True. I
agree,
think-
except
oh,
I
it's a
think
defenseless
that's...
animal.
I
I
think
think he
that's giving the
equally would
writing
have
of this
lost
movie
it.
too much credit, though, doesn't it?
I think he equally would have lost it if he got to the car and the dog was alive and the girl was dead.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It might be that he was hoping that the dog would corner her and be barking at her, and he could find her that way. and
Yeah.
like rescue her from the dog. Or something. I don't know. There's many
be.
ways it could have gone, but it still frustrated me that he did that. One thing that like I generally don't like about movies like this where there's like the stalker reveal and all that is that these stalker characters often have a complete change of character once they have captured their victim, and it happened a bit in this movie too. He's awkward when he first meets her, but he immediately jumps into I'm wearing your Santa Claus costume and saying ho ho ho, and I think it's totally normal to
Yeah.
like eat this meal. We're gonna, when we watch Fresh, obviously I don't want to spoil too much, but that is one thing that I enjoyed is that the similar like comparative character in Fresh does not lose his character throughout the movie. He is
That's
very
nice.
consistent. He is consistently on the same level of sanity. He is on the same level of rapport, and he doesn't change how he treats the main character at all through the movie. He treats her consistently, and he is always open to that relationship staying the same as he wants it to stay. It never is like,
Oh.
I'm in control now. It's always a relationship. And that's something that I am excited to hear your thoughts about when we do that. But we're done with Noah's notes. I think the last thing I want to say is that he does note that they showed the whole eye stab. They did do
Yeah.
that. Again, they
Mhm.
didn't shy away with the gore. There wasn't a whole
Yeah.
ton of cuts. I didn't feel like with Splinter where I was like, can I just see the gore, please?
Yeah.
Can I please see the gore?
Like, I know it looks cool. Just let me look at it. No,
Let me
not
look
with this
at
one.
it, please.
With this
So
one,
that
it's
is something I
like,
did
oh, are they going to
appreciate.
show it? Oh, they showed it.
Cool. I wonder how they did that, which is my favorite thing to think when I'm watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
I think they made a fake dude out of meat and they just rammed a car into him against a wall.
Probably. Yeah.
I want a behind the scenes. Genuinely. Okay. Yeah, that was it for the notes.
Nice.
That was Noah's notes.
We'll just have to write like an actual theme that plays every time, like like an actual jingle. That's my opinion.
That probably makes more sense.
Because
Some, like,
I can't do
80s
poetry.
metal thing.
Just every time before we go into it, I'll be like, this is Noah's notes. And then afterwards I'll be like, that was Noah's notes.
That's pretty good. Like we could work with that, I think.
Yeah, that's not bad. I did like Noah's idea there, though, where it's like an 80s metal thing. That could be fun.
Just do like a sliding like guitar, like
That's
Noah's
really all it
notes.
needs to do, right? Is just a big chord hit and like a dive bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Is there anything else we want to talk about in regards to this movie?
I don't think so. I think we just about covered it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Probably.
Get out of
Nice.
here, everyone.
What are we?
All right.
What are we watching next week?
What?
Next 2 weeks from now.
Yes,
Next time.
Next time. I've mentioned it once. I've mentioned it twice. I'll mention it a third time.
Not thrice.
Come
Bryce.
on.
Boo.
Next time I would like us all to watch Fresh. Fresh is a movie with some fun themes and also Sebastian Stan, and it's on
No.
Hulu.
This is
So-
a prequel to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, is it not?
No, that you're thinking of Bel Air, but
Yeah, joke's on you, Jeff.
Bel Air's not a
Oh,
Bel Air's
no.
not a prequel. It's just a dramatic
it's just
retelling.
a dramatic reboot.
Yeah.
I hate that.
But Fresh. It's available on Hulu. I do have some content warnings for you. I think, what do I have?
Ass eating.
Cannibalism.
Cannibalism's the big
Ooh.
one, obviously. It is a cannibal movie.
Neat.
Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian Stan. I think there's some nudity. I don't remember exactly.
Is there dong?
Is
there
there
This is
might
dong?
be
Sebastian's
dong.
dong.
I don't remember. It's implied, if
The
nothing
Sebastian
else.
Stan.
Implied dong is not full
Implied
dong.
I don't think there's a whole lot else. Those are the big ones. There's suspense. There's kind of some stalkery behavior. There is again this uncomfortable like man-woman dynamic that like if you don't love that, you might not love it here, but it is a movie written and directed by women. It is told
Oh.
from a much more understanding perspective of how these things usually go versus how men think they go. So, I would say better in that regard. Lots of gore, lots of blood. I think there might also be even more eye stuff. So just, have that going in. Other than that, yeah, fun movie. Can't wait to talk about it. Where can we find everyone? Anyone?
You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Emma Panada. I also run the podcast Twitter at Casual Horror Pod. If you want to be notified of when new episodes are coming out, or sometimes every once in a while I'll tweet just a funny thing from there. I'm also writing a TTRPG called All the Witches, and you can find more information about that and lots of cool art. One of which I just posted, even though once this episode comes out, it'll be a week from now. So just look back a week in that timeline and you'll find it. But yeah, you can find that at allthewitches_ on Twitter. Because at All the Witches is taken by a privated Taylor Swift fan account.
Wow.
That's so unfortunate.
Wow.
I didn't
Okay.
know
But
that.
that's me.
I'm so thrilled.
You're about to drum up a bunch of followers for the Taylor Swift account by accident.
Jeff, where
Noah.
can we find
Jeff.
you?
Wait, who's going?
Jeff, where can we find
You
you?
can find me on Twitter at Bubba Wubbadab, and I'm not active enough anywhere else for it to matter.
Nice. And Jeff, where can we find you?
Huh?
Fine, if Jeff doesn't want to say, I'll say where I'm at. You can find me as Bubbadabad, Bubbadabad, on Twitch, Twitter, and Insta. If you follow Instagram, then you can see the wife posting that visited Twitter once, and everyone's like, look at all this art that she's doing. And I'm like, that's not the point of the tweet. I had, 4 people retweet my Nina appreciation post because of her charcoal sketches in the picture. And I won't lie, it was a little uncomfortable. There are
That's
certain friends who
hilarious.
did it where I'm like, I don't mind that you did that. I understand. But then there were accounts that I've never interacted with. I don't know who they are. They don't follow me. They don't follow Nina.
Yikes.
Mhm.
And that was weird.
Yeah, that
I
was a
saw
little
who they
weird.
were connected to. Like, I could tell which of my friends they leapfrogged to me from.
Sure.
But that was weird.
Did I retweet your tweet?
I don't know.
Oh, I didn't. I was respectful.
Thank you.
Look at you. Anyway,
But Jeff, where can we find you?
yeah, thanks for asking.
Well.
You can find
Jeff, for the love of God, do you mind letting Nina talk? You've introed yourself like 3 times now.
You can find me, Nina, at Nina Wolverina on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're looking on Twitch, I'm mostly on Emma's channel, actually. I play various characters in various games, mostly just Ignacio in the Ravenloft game Sunday nights. What else? Oh, I wrote a book. Yeah, I did that. You can
Book.
find the link to that in my Twitter bio. It's about death gods and criminal prophets, and I've been told it's good. Someone at a coffee shop today lost their actual mind when they found out that I was the person who wrote it, and they asked for a
Oh yeah,
picture with
wait,
me.
what's the story? Hold on. I want to hear the story.
Yeah,
Well, someone was in the
functionally.
coffee shop and they found out that Nina wrote it and they freaked out.
Someone I'd never met before was standing in line, and they started talking about how good the book was and talking to their friends about how good the book was. And then they started talking to me about how good the book was. And they were like, it was so good. I've been telling all my friends to read it. I just want more. I'm sad that it's over. And I said, well, I'm working on another one. And she looked like she'd just seen God.
Oh my gosh. So had she come to the coffee shop before and bought a copy when you weren't
And
there?
I wasn't there. Yeah.
Oh.
She's from Pittsburgh, so she was only in like every once in a while. And she's
That's
so
so
can I get a
cool.
picture with you? And she was like telling me the things that she liked about it. And she's like, next time I come up from Pittsburgh, I'm bringing my book on the off chance that you'll be here again. And I'm like, ah.
That's so sweet.
It was
Oh
literally
my God.
haven't stopped thinking about it. But yeah, if you want to experience the joy that this person apparently experienced when they read my book, you can find it on my Twitter. Thanks a bunch.
Get wrecked, kid. I already have an autographed copy.
Yo.
Air horn, air horn, air horn.
All right. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us, everybody. We really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your 2 weeks until we see you again.
Ghost noise, ghost noise, ghost noise.
Goodbye.